What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Podcast X. I am once again joined by Mr. Callum Pugh. Welcome, Callum. Welcome.
What do you
It's
mean,
good
welcome?
to have you.
What do you mean? What do you mean, welcome? But we share this.
Yeah, I know, but okay. Anyway,
I know we haven't seen each other in a while.
we haven't seen. It's been a bit of a time since our last recording session,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, we're gonna jump into a topic that is very close and very sentimental to my heart: pro wrestling. So for all those pro wrestling fans, you're going to enjoy it. For everybody else who's already clicked off the video, fuck, see you later, bye. So in this video, guys, I'm going to try and convince Pewey that wrestling has come a long way from its humble beginnings, and it's no longer just a soap opera snooze fest with men screaming and slapping each other and wearing tight trousers. So... Exactly. So, pretty much, yeah. It's still like that, to be fair, Pewee, I'm not going to lie. So, I just want to get your sort of first initial opinion before I try and convert you.
Right.
To
Right. Before we start, I'm not going to get converted.
Okay, not converted, but I'm going to make
converted.
you appreciate why I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
All I
So-
sort of know about wrestling is, sorry to say this to WrestleMania fan, whatever you call it.
WrestleMania fans.
I've always known it as fake, and not believable. I've never, to be honest with you, I'm not gonna completely judge it and call it all canned because I've never watched it, and obviously, but it's never enticed me to watch it when I've seen it on the telly and stuff. And I know people go absolutely bonkers, like yourself, with I don't know, WWE, whatever, WWE Raw. I don't know what it is. But my brain in obviously wrestling isn't very good. Put it that way.
That's fair enough. I mean, you're your typical non-wrestling fan where you think, which is fine. I totally get it, and I'm gonna justify every point that I make, and every point that you make, I'm gonna debate you back and say why you're wrong. Basically, not wrong, but
Yeah, but
there's justification that needs to follow what I say.
Yeah.
So, the first word I'm going to focus on right now is the word you've just said, which is the word fake. Yes,
Okay.
wrestling is fake because it is scripted. And a lot of the times in matches and in shows, the writers have to come up with scripts and the writers have to come up with storylines. So everything is planned out beforehand. However, this doesn't stop sort of altercations between wrestlers. Let's say, for example, you've got me and you in a match. Okay, me and you in a wrestling match, a singles match or whatever you want to call it. And let me make it clear to you. It is so difficult to come up with a match on the fly like that. It is so difficult. You have to rehearse. You have to go over something they call spots, which is basically moments in the match that basically are like what gets the crowd up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, I could climb the top rope and jump on you or something. You know what I mean? That would be known as a spot. You know what I mean? If we were just doing, we were just spending time just punching each other in the corner, I wouldn't really call that a spot. I would just really call that just filler in the match, because you get spots and then you just get filler, which is like when you tie up and stuff. But anyway, and let's say I hit you on purpose. Okay? That is something we call a shoot, because I am going essentially off script. Now, unless me and you have agreed prior to the match that we're going to hit each other for real, because one, that makes it look more realistic. People start to see the extent of actual injuries, and also the storytelling that comes with it. But let's say me and you have not agreed to hit each other properly, and I start hitting you for real. You're going to get pissed off. You'll be like, why the fuck are you hitting me?
Well, obviously, yeah. Tell you.
So you're going to start hitting me back,
Yeah.
physically. That's the sort of thing that happens in matches sometimes. Many important matches throughout the years, they call it shoot wrestling, one of the greatest. I advise you. Do you know what, Pewee? Even if you don't want to, I advise you to go and watch a couple of matches from over the years. I will give you two. I will give you one that is completely scripted and completely fake, and I'll give you one that is a complete shoot. You've got a few years ago at WrestleMania, you had Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. That was a shoot wrestling match where they hit each other for real, where there was blood involved. There was no blading, which is where they cut themselves open and make them bleed. They physically busted themselves open by punching each other, basically, and hitting each other with things. And there's matches like your old typical Divas matches where they're completely scripted. The women aren't the best of what they are now, and you can just tell it's just a massive scripted sort of soap opera, really. So I'll have to show you.
So it's kind of like Corey. So it's kind of like Corey.
Yeah, because exactly, because there are different types of wrestling. People watch it for the storylines.
Shout out to Beryl and Corey. Shout out to Bella and Corey.
Maybe our next pod can be about soap operas or Corey.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. Jesus Christ, I can't stand them. So
how the mighty has fallen.
How the mighty have fallen, absolutely. So matches. So we're going back on the words on the meaning of the word fake, which is I think is the word that this whole video is going to be based around a lot. Like I said, of course it's fake. But it still doesn't stop the injuries from occurring. All these trained performers are at the top of their athletic game, and they have to be, or they're gonna reap the repercussions. Because if you're not ready, if you're not good enough, and if you're not alert, that's when injuries happen. A few years ago, there was this man called Seth Rollins, who's also one of my babies. I'll just put that out there right now. Where he performed, for any wrestling fan, I'm pretty sure you know what happened, but for anyone who isn't, he performed what you would call a sunset flip. So they were both in one of the corners of the ring, and this man he was performing the move on was sort of slouched over the top of the corner of the ring, but he had both his feet on the middle ropes. You've got 3 ropes. You've got the top, middle, and bottom. His feet were in the middle. The man in question was going to sort of do a flip over him, but grabbing his waist in the process. So as he's flipped over, he'll sort of perform like a throw, or a power bomb, as you would call it. But in this case, it's called a sunset flip power bomb. But as he's come down, because in order for him to do that, his feet have to hit the floor and take the full weight of that person. But as his feet has hit the floor, his knee has bent in, and he's done his ACL, and you can see the clip online of his knee bending in. And he did his ACL, and he was out for like 6 months. I think the common misconception, which is fair enough, there's been matches where wrestlers have gotten injuries and they've carried on. You look at, I'm gonna compare this to football, because footballers, which is fair enough, you get an injury, you go off. You're getting paid a hell of a lot of money to keep yourself fit. If you get any sort of injury, if you pull your hamstring, you're going off. I'm going to divert your attention to a man called Triple H, which is someone you probably remember, or that probably jogs a memory.
Yeah, it does jog a memory a little bit, but I have heard of him.
He has been a notorious competitor for the reason being, when he gets injured, he doesn't stop. Because he sees it as weakness. And a lot of wrestlers will go... Listen, seriously. Wrestlers will go on the concept of no matter what happens to you, you finish that match. Regardless of what happens to you. This man tore his quad in a match and carried on. That's just one of the ones he's been in. In a recent match, he tore his pectoral muscle right off his bone, and he continued and finished the match.
Well, that's I'll give him that. That is brave.
But this is the common misconception that gets stared around constantly, that it's fake. But when you then challenge people who say it's fake, okay, you say, what about it is fake? So my question to you now
I-
is, what about it is fake?
Well, see, what confuses me a little bit with the wrestling stuff, it's more or less like you're saying it's scripted. Now, if it's scripted, then someone's obviously the winner, someone's the loser,
Yeah.
and so how is that scored, or how is that like, for example, say, like, for example, John Cena. They're the only wrestlers I can remember. John Cena versus Dwayne Johnson. Now, obviously, they're both
Yeah.
quite big performers, movies and everything. Now, who would you say is the more bigger wrestler out of them two?
Honestly, I'd probably say Cena, just because he's been in the company a lot longer.
Myself would say Dwayne Johnson's a lot bigger.
Why would you say that?
Because obviously, sorry, someone's just staring at me over there in the corner. Obviously, with John Cena and stuff, I've only ever heard of him from wrestling background. I know we've seen him now in the movie pictures and stuff, like it's a bad knit. What's it called? Off the top of my head, with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, yeah.
The kids.
Daddy's Home.
Daddy's Home.
Daddy's
So
Home.
now I've seen him make the switch over, and he's now on, obviously, like, films like that. So that's really the only time I've seen John Cena, which he looks like a good actor. Now, I myself, in that same match, would say Dwayne Johnson's the bigger, like, favourite. He's more, well, I'd say he's bigger. He's the worldwide. He's known everywhere. So I'd say on popularity that he should win that wrestling match for popularity. But how is it fair?
How does that work, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I can never
So
understand.
that's interesting. That's another thing that comes up when people kind of question the fundamentals, is the decision can either be made before the match or during the match. They call it going over. The winner goes over. Basically, that's the phrase they choose. And it's been shown in a few wrestling matches over the years that the decision to win has been during the match. Because you get two guys going in, they don't know who's going to win until that person gets pinned. You might tend to call that a shoot wrestling match because you don't know who the winner's going to be.
Is it,
but
it on fatigue as well? Is it played on fatigue?
Absolutely
as well?
not. Absolutely not. Unless there's a severe injury involved. Let's say someone fractures their ankle or something. This is a match that happened not recently, but in the last 10 years. This guy was meant to win, apparently. He fractured his ankle, so the other guy had to pin him because it was a severe injury. Those are the type of things. But usually, more often than not, matches are... The result of matches are... so the winner of the match will always be discussed and they'll always know. But the outcome of how the winner becomes the winner is always the thing that people don't know. That's what makes wrestling so exciting, because you don't know how they're going to win. If you've got a guy who's been on a winning streak, for example, you're always going to think the guy on a winning streak is going to keep winning and winning and winning. Then that puts seeds of doubt in, and you think, okay, maybe this other guy's going to be.
That's another thing I was going to get to. Say if, like, I don't know, maybe like who you said before, was it Triple H? Was it? Say
yes.
Like if he goes on like a 15 win streak, and then obviously popularity and stuff. Then if someone comes in like, give me a wrestle name, just give me just any random wrestler, just. I don't know. Remember Rey Mysterio's? I don't know.
Yeah. There you go.
Imagine if he just comes in and just takes it away from him. So, I just don't get how it's like scored. Basically, that's what I mean.
What do you mean scored?
So say like say like in, for example, say UFC. You've got like middleweight.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Middleweight, lightweight, and then they get, say if they fight so many times, so they go on a 5-win streak, 6 win streak, they're in line then for the title fight. How does that work in wrestling when you get the belts and stuff? That's what
right. So So the belts are given to individuals who have been chosen by the writers or the management about who is the right candidate to lead the company forward. In a way, it's like a promotion. It's like a promotion in the business. If you've been given the top title of your promotion, you are clearly making good noise. You are clearly being a responsible individual, and it makes, people will kind of confide in you.
Is it similar to like Conor McGregor and what he's done with the UFC, like in that type of sense?
Well,
in a way.
The thing you look at is with loyalty. A lot of the times, if you've been in a company for a long time, it doesn't matter what company it is, you're going to be repaid for your loyalty. So you look at the likes of John Cena, who's been with the company for years. Okay, he's not on TV anymore, or not at the moment anyway. He's not even part-time anymore. But because he's been with the company for so many years, he's had the main title of wrestling given to him 14 times over his career.
Yeah.
Whereas you got a guy that's just started, who's barely made his name, it's going to be a good few years before he gets recognised as potential one to watch. It all depends. It's all a business, and there's a pyramid, a massive pyramid, and you got to put your time in. You got to pay your dues, and eventually you'll start winning matches. You'll start winning belts, but the belt is more for the people to sort of choose that champion. Let's say, because in wrestling, there's a whole. They always say there's locker room leaders and stuff. Now, these people aren't necessarily individuals with the belts. You've got guys who've been there for years, like veterans like Undertaker, Triple H, who's the CEO of the company now. Sorry, COO of the company now, who've been there for years, and they've been repaid with that loyalty by giving these spots in the company. But more spots not in the ring. More spots calling the shots outside the ring, like being part of the writing team, or they call it the creative team, which basically make up the stories and decide who wins, who loses, who gets to go home with the title and all that stuff, or who gets pushed and who gets jobbed out. When I say jobbed out, it means you just get squashed, basically. You get put on a match against someone and he destroys you in like 10 seconds. You call that a squash.
Yeah,
and you tend to be low in the pecking order.
Something like what you say is a squash. Now,
Mm-hmm.
say if that happened to John Cena.
Which it has done in the past.
Yeah, because I have actually... Because what I will say about the wrestling, sort of the fandom, or like fans stuff, they do make a really big thing out of it, which, so like for yourself and stuff, it's nice to see people getting all excited for it and stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it's nice to see a fan base with passion. That's what I always like to say.
Without the fans,
Cena,
wrestling wouldn't be popular.
Yeah, see, with like,
like
John Cena getting beat and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because he's getting beat and they've all decided, what if the fans don't like that? What happens then? Like,
so,
you know what I mean?
Okay,
I've heard him lose a few times, and obviously that he's somehow.
He's lost many
somehow
times.
He's ended up back with the belt, and I'm like, how the fuck?
See, it's
not even watching it, but how the fuck? I don't get it.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. It's very rarely that very recently until the fans have had much sort of input. When I say input, I mean the reactions that they give.
Yeah.
John Cena, as much as the company that he's been a part of, he's been and he's shown as this hero. They call it a face.
Yeah.
Or a baby face, which is basically a hero. A heel is a bad dude.
Like Trav.
Like Trav, yeah. Another name drop. Sorry, Trav. The fans booed him, regardless. The fans booed Cena, even though he was a good guy. He was booed because he was always winning titles. He was always winning belts. He was always winning the matches, and people wanted to see someone else get a chance. So along comes this man called Daniel Bryan, who is a massive inspiration to me. This man started a movement that they call it a movement, something called the Yes Movement, which is obviously a storyline in the company. But Daniel Bryan was never meant to be a top tier champion in WWE. The fans made him who he was. The fans made the management of that company change WrestleMania so Daniel Bryan became the top tier champion because of how much they loved him. And when they don't see their favorite wrestlers getting what they deserve, they're gonna boo, they're gonna hate, they're gonna throw abuse. For years, people have been asking for the WWE to push people like Cesaro and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, all these amazing wrestlers who are overlooked in the company because they'd rather go with Vince's ideal wrestler who's over 6 foot, muscular and veiny, and is the sort of poster boy for the company. You look at Hulk Hogan, as important as he was for the company, that he paved the way for the WWE today, he was a dog's bollocks wrestler. He was awful. He was terrible. He couldn't.
Yeah,
a lot of the old wrestlers couldn't wrestle for shit. Andre the Giant
in Rocky.
Well, there you go. Andre the Giant, massive, massive character. Everyone knew who he was. Couldn't wrestle for shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things that, especially nowadays, wrestling is seen more as not sports entertainment as it was packaged in the last decade, but more as the performer the performer themselves. Years ago, in the likes of Hulk Hogan, it was very much over-exacerbated, and it was a very power-tripped company. The guy with the most money, or the guy with the most sort of involvement in the locker room, would get the push, would get the chance to, you know, be on the main event and hold the belts and rake in them, regardless if you were good at wrestling or not. If you were big, if you were over 6 foot, if you were muscular, you were going to be a top tier champion regardless if you were good or not. But now, you get these wrestlers who aren't necessarily muscular or, you know, a decent physique, but they can wrestle. They can actually wrestle, and their matches are very, very good. And those are the matches that I like. I don't like soap opera matches. I don't like watching two massive Donnies going back and forth. I like watching two wrestlers wrestling for over 45 minutes or half an hour, pushing themselves to the physical limit of their ability, and actually, you know...
Oh yeah, let's see, everyone just keeps walking in, like... honest to God, let's see. I need to have a massive sign on the door just saying...
Piss off.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's so difficult now to sort of get your head around what people think about wrestling these days, because everyone seems to think it's just two big sweaty men going at it, when it's much more than that. It's not sports entertainment, it's a sport. They have to train for it. They have to rehearse like anyone else. If anything, it's more difficult than being in the UFC. It's more difficult than being a boxer. Because boxers you know?
See, I would argue the toss with that a little bit. Because I think UFC, just from experience myself, obviously, I've had boxing mats and stuff, and I've known the similarities with like the feelings of before you get in the ring and all that type of stuff. Obviously, I don't know too much of wrestling and stuff, but I would say, I don't know, maybe you could tell me different, but I think psychologically in boxing, or a bit of the UFC as well, I think it's more, I'd say it's more daunting for obviously people to get into that scenario and be a bit more, you know, it's a bit more dangerous, say. And I feel like if it's scripted with obviously like the wrestling stuff, I feel like obviously, as you've said, I know injuries can happen, but let's see, with the boxing, or you don't know, it could be one punch and then you're out cold, or you could be, you know, you're really you could be ill for weeks from it, like you know what I mean. So
yeah, I totally agree.
I remember when I did mine,
the risk factor is there.
Yeah, it's massive. So, but with obviously wrestling, I think like with the being scripted and stuff, there's less sort of chance of it happening, even though it does.
Of course there is.
Can you
of
see
course
what
there's less chance.
Can you see what I'm going for, type of thing?
Of course, because these are sports performers. They are going to want to protect their assets. Yeah. Okay? It's different when you are a boxer or a UFC fighter. It's the same for all of them. They all have to put their bodies on the line for people's entertainment. Whether it's scripted, whether it's not. You are still putting your body at risk. Okay? Like you said, injuries can happen at any time. But the reality is, they still do happen. And more often than not, in wrestling, they are more serious. Because you could be out for up to 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. With muscle tears, separations, dislocations. There's a reason why they used to play on the old TV shows back in the day. Stay at home, don't try this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas in boxing, there's a referee who can stop the match.
Yeah.
If someone's getting beat the shit out of. In UFC, it's the same. But that referee in a WWE ring or an AEW ring or any ring in the world in wrestling, that person breaks their leg. What do you do?
Well,
it's not like
me. I'd get a bit of an ambulance straight away. Me, but I don't know how it works with wrestling.
Well, there you go. Okay, and it's the same aspect for all.
Get a big ass stretcher.
They can stop. They can stop it.
Yeah.
But you can't stop. You can't stop a guy that's got to, follow the script, and has to continue on if he's injured. Whereas a guy in the UFC and a guy in boxing, they'd be stopped.
Yeah.
Because they have to protect their assets. Eddie Hearn has to protect his assets. And all these boxing promotions. But with the WWE and AEW, they'll push through that pain barrier for the entertainment of others. Like you sit there, you go and watch any video on YouTube of wrestlers getting injured and carrying on. You will never know they're injured. You will never know. Because they don't show it. They are the toughest sons of bitches on the face of this planet, and you've got to be a special person to be a wrestler. I tried to be. Well, I didn't try to be. I went to a couple of sessions.
Because you're not special enough.
And I found it tough. And this was at a time when this body you see here didn't have this double chin, didn't have these chubby cheeks, didn't have a massive belly, burger tits, and fucking stretch marks, right? This was a Dave who was running regularly, who was playing football regularly, who was fit and healthy.
So we're going to call this...
And at the peak of my physical prowess.
Are we going to call this Fit Dave?
This is Fat Dave. That was Fit Dave.
No, yeah, that's what I'm referring to. So that was Fit Dave.
Exactly.
This is Homer Dave.
And even training was tough.
Yeah.
It was one of the toughest things I've ever done. You have to bounce off these ropes, right? You have to run into these ropes. That hurts like hell. Because these ropes have been pulled tight. And you are bouncing off them on your back, running across the ring and bouncing off. You're gaining momentum. When you jump and land on your back, it hurts. When you do these drills over and over again, it's like any drill in a gym. You're doing these drills over and over again. Back body drops, suplexes, hip tosses, all of that. It's going to have wear and tear on your body. I have not known a wrestler in the last 20 or 30 years who used to be in the glory days of wrestling who hasn't lived past 80. Any significant person, or even past 100. The women it's different because back then the women didn't have the same following as the men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fortunately nowadays it's brilliant and the women are getting a lot more of a shout and they're performing more high octane moves and putting on better matches that, which is great for them, which and a lot of the women's matches over the last few years have been better than the men's. But the men would not live for as long because they're putting their body at risk. There've been men who have injured themselves beyond repair, who are then wheelchair bound and paralysed from the neck down. A man by the name of Darren Drozdov got injured off a power bomb, and he's in the wheelchair for the rest of his life and can't feel a thing from his head down.
Jesus Christ.
UFC, you can stop that shit.
Yeah.
In boxing, you can stop that shit. Not in wrestling. Once something goes wrong, and it's something big, people have died in the ring, Pewey. Owen Hart fell from the rafters during a botched entrance and whacked his head on the top turnbuckle on the top rope and killed himself. By accident, of course.
Wow.
Rey Mysterio accidentally killed someone. When he performs a 619, he has to kick them into the ropes, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, wasn't it like what was the thing? Booyaka.
Exactly.
That's all.
But you know when he sets up for the move and he kicks them and they fall onto the ropes, he kicked them.
Sorry, Dave. I think you cut off a tiny bit there before you.
Oh, if you didn't hear me, you know when Rey Mysterio kicks someone and they fall onto the ropes and they hang over the ropes to be 619 or whatever.
Yeah.
He did that to another guy and it killed him.
Oh Christ. Like, wow.
There have been men who have had heart attacks in the ring. Especially years ago when they used to take steroids and supplement products.
To make themselves look bigger.
To make themselves bigger.
Yeah.
Because that was the way it used to be. There is a lot more protection nowadays. There is more of a risk to be played in this business than in any other business. Any other sports business.
Okay,
That's my opinion on it. Whether you are converted or you understand a bit more, or even for me, just to have a little bit more respect, because I'm not saying that you don't. I know that you do.
No, let's see. I'm very respectful of most people's things. So, yeah, you could, for example, say like you could rip me because I like watching like anime, and you could rip me for that. So you know, it's just one of them things, isn't it? So, but
we're going to defend the things we love. We're going to defend the things that we enjoy.
It's nice. It's nice to have someone to have a passion. That's what it's
of course it is
about. Even this is sort of what the podcast X is about anyway. So, you know, we both like talking. We both like talking shit. So, you know, we can talk about anything. Now,
it.
what I want to get back to is, I'm actually a little bit interested, to be honest with what we discussed. And obviously, I probably will watch a few clips, to be honest with you, just to see what it was like.
I'll lend you my network, mate. You can watch wrestling all day long if you want.
Said I probably won't go that far. No offense. But what I want to do is in the next podcast, which whoever's here now at the end of the video, hopefully we're going to try and get a what do you call it? A wrestle guest? I don't know what would you call it?
A wrestling guest.
Okay.
A wrestling guest.
Pretty much nailed that. So hopefully, so that on the next few episodes, you might actually see someone in the wrestling. Maybe it's not, this will be like amateur level or something like that, or someone who's training to get into the wrestling. So we'll get them on a podcast, and then we'll see what the impact of what's been going on with the
like a first-hand thing.
Yeah. So maybe listening to them, I can understand it a lot better, because obviously listening to you as well, I have learned a lot, and it'd be nice to actually hear someone like what we had with Josh in the previous episode with acting. It'd be nice to have someone come on who's with a nice wrestling name, like, I don't know, Rey Mysterio, or
Jesus Christ,
I don't know.
Oh God,
we'll get back to we'll get back to it.
We will.
So, so thanks for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. If you want to us talk more wrestling, football, gaming stuff, anything, just let us know in the comment section down below.
More wrestling.
I knew you'd say that, and we hope to see you all again soon. So bye for now from me, and from
Take care.
See you soon.